Hi, I'm Christy. I'm the owner of Dash, Morgan's BFF and kind of boss, but I don't like that term sometimes. I like to consider us work friends. Um, Anyways, I used to go to PRC. I graduated here in 2011. I have about a 20-minute testimony that I'm going to try to fit in 10 minutes, so y'all just bear with me. But my testimony started right here at PRC in the 7th grade. And if you would have told me at any time during my time here at PRC that, hey, Kaylee, that I would be standing up here telling you the story that I'm about to tell y'all, I would not have believed you for 1 second. So, anyways, started 7th grade here. In the 7th grade, I remember the night before I started 7th grade, I'm like, God, please send me X, Y, and Z to be my friends because I knew that these were popular girls. I wanted them to be in my class so I could be popular because I was not coordinated enough to be on cheer, dance, basketball, show choir, anything like that. But I knew I had like kind of a good personality. So if I could like be in classes with these popular girls, I could be friends with them, right? So, or I could make friends with them. Get to class the next day, and these specific girls that I had prayed to be in my class were not in any of my classes. So I was a little disappointed. But there was a girl in my class, and her name was Ashley. Um, Ashley, I had known her from elementary. Long story short, she had moved and just came back to our school. But the Ashley that was in the 7th grade was not the happy, bubbly Ashley that I knew in the 3rd grade when she was in my class. And a lot of bad things had happened to Ashley in this time span of her not being from 3rd grade to the 7th grade. And I didn't know anything about any of that. She was really quiet, kind of kept to herself. I was tasked with the job of, since she was a new girl at school, I was tasked with the job of like showing her around school, helping her make friends, blah, blah, blah. And I just did like the bare minimum that I had to do for that because she was really, really quiet, wore her hair in front of her face, didn't talk to anybody, just you could tell like something was going on, but then I was also too shy to like intervene, I guess. She would come to school for a couple weeks, miss for a couple weeks, come to school for a day, miss a day. Her attendance was whack. It was all over the place. And sometimes I remember one time she came to school and she had a pair of pants, but one leg was cut up off at the knee like a pair of shorts, but the other one went all the way down to the floor like a pair of pants. And I'm like, why would her parents send her to school wearing that? You know, like that's kind of odd. Um, she had been gone for about a week or so. We thought she had dropped out of school, and then she shows up to school with the biggest black eye that I had ever seen in my entire life. I promise the story does take a good turn later on, but this is the kind of reality of it. Um, Ashley came and sat at my lunch table that day with one of our friends, our mutual friends, and I tried to direct the conversation where nobody was like really paying attention to Ashley and her black eye because it was really bad. Like she couldn't even open it. And she ate her lunch. She gets up. She throws her tray away in the trash can, and then she leaves. She walks out the thing, out the lunchroom, which I'm thinking she probably went to like the bathroom or something. And that was the very last time that I ever saw Ashley. I came to school a couple days later. I'm in my science class. A friend of mine turns around. She's like, "Hey, Christy, can you keep a secret?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Not thinking that she's about to tell me what she's about to tell me. And she's like, "My mom works at the hospital in Picayune, and Ashley's parents brought her there last night, and she didn't make it." I'm like, "What do you mean she didn't make it?" And they're like, "She's passed away." Well, come to find out, Ashley had been being abused at home. I don't think her parents intentionally meant to kill her that night, but it had been taken too far, and they had strangled her to death, and she had died. And I know that's really morbid and that's very heavy for 7:30 in the morning, but this happened right here at PRC, so I want y'all to be able to take from this story and run with it. I would felt so convicted in that moment because I'm like, I could have been a better friend to her. I knew I couldn't have saved her life, but I could have been a better friend to her. I had no idea what this girl was going through at home. I had no idea the just heaviness that she held on her shoulders every day. Why didn't I like try and talk to her more? Why didn't I try and be her friend, you know? And that was hard on me. And I remember the very first time I ever clearly heard the Lord speak to me was over Ashley. And he said, "Christy," he said, it was clear as day. He said, "You can either keep living your life like you've been living, seeking the validation from these popular girls that you want to be friends with or whatever." He said, "or you can be a friend to the friendless like I've called you to be." And I'm like, well, I want that option. And so a couple years go by. I'm trying to be friends with everybody. Like if you were sitting by yourself, you weren't going to sit by yourself for very long. I wanted to be friends with you. And my ninth grade year, a guy named David moved to our school, and David's kind of a little, Liz knows, he's kind of a little nerdy guy. He wore his like dad shoes that y'all call them now. Those New Balance shoes with his socks up to his ankles. Like he was a very fun guy though. We all loved him. David was awesome, but he was my lab partner, and we had to like dissect frogs together and everything. Whatever. I remember like introducing David to some of my friends that went to church with me, like some of my guy friends, and he kind of got involved with our church a little bit, but then he had his own church that he went to. And so David's just a good guy, great friend. Uh, 10th grade summer, I'm in Washington, D.C. on a trip, and a friend texts me and she says, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know David passed away last night in a car wreck." And I'm like, "Gosh, are you serious?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I remember praying about that. And I felt like the Lord, He spoke to me again. And I felt like He said, "You did with David what I wanted you to do with Ashley. Well done, keep doing it." And that's just always sat with me. And a couple weeks later, in my Napoleon Dynamite notebook, that's how old I am. I was at a youth camp, and they had told us at this youth camp, they said, "Get a notebook out, pray for a minute, and the very first thing that comes to your mind, I want you to write it down in this notebook." This was June 16th, 2010. So I was going into my senior year of high school. So 2010, 15 years ago. And it says real big up here, it says dash. And it says David plus Ashley equals dash. So the DA from David and the ASH from Ashley mixed together. That's where my dash came from. I didn't know what the Lord wanted me to do with it. It just says, "I believe that God will open huge doors." And that's all that it was. I just had it in my notebook, didn't really think much of it until I started Dash Forward. At the time, it was not called Dash Forward, it was called Tees Tees. My name's Kristee. I made t-shirts at the time, pocket t-shirts, so it's like Kristee's t-shirts. But it was getting to a point where I knew I wanted to open a boutique and do a little bit more with it. And I was at a trade show, and this lady walks up to me, and I remembered the word Dash, and I was like, it would be cool to use Dash, but the Kardashians had a store named Dash at the time, and I was like, well, I can't do that like legally if I ever wanted to own the name Dash because they own it. And I said, "So God, you got to give me a name to put before or after it because I'm not going to use it unless it's from you." And this lady comes up to me. I have no idea who she was. She was another vendor. She sold like hair bows or something. And she said, well, we became friends there, but she said, "Kristee," she said, "Dash Forward." Just looked me right in the eye and said that. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because I had not told anybody this, or especially her, that I needed another name to go before or after it. And I was like, "That's it, Dash Forward." And that was the confirmation that the Lord gave me that it was okay to use that name. But also, I had always thought that I wanted to be a missionary all the way up until this point. I was very involved in my church, FCA, all the things. And but I didn't know how to like get my foot in that door. And the Lord never called me to go to Africa. I mean, I've been to Mexico a few times, but He's never called me to like just be this like missionary, that you think of when you hear that word. But He grew Dash Forward to a place where we now employ over 44 women of all ages, 35 years old, all the way down to my Morgan shoulder over here. And that is my missions field. And every single day I get to pour into these girls' lives. And some days we have hard days, and some days we have good days. But that, whenever He told me, and I felt like I was going to be a missionary, I had no idea that it was going to be pouring into, I mean, there might be several of you girls in here who work with us one day, and even guys whenever we start moving to our warehouse one day. But He's just been really, really good to me. My story started right here in the 7th grade at PRC. And so I just want y'all to know that where y'all are sitting at right now, and all of these things that y'all are thinking of, and where your life might take you, you just pray, you seek Him, and something as small as being a friend of the friend list can change the course of your entire life. So I guess it's almost time to go. Do you want me to pray out, or do y'all want to pray? Oh, me? Okay.